Hi guys, Samantha from Samantha Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you a cool tutorial using hollow beads and animal prints. So to start with, you're going to want to round up at least 4 texture stamps that have a animal print of some sort on them, and I am going to be using my Polymer clay texture stamps today, but any texture stamp with an animal print on it will work. Just make sure that you have 4, that's the number that you need. And so I've kind of got this fur pattern, a snake, leopard and giraffe pattern, and we're going to be working with these first, but also you're going to need at least 4 designs in a stencil or silkscreen that are animal print. And so I'm going to be using the zebra on this piece, the tiger and leopard or tiger and jaguar on that one, and then this snake print on this silkscreen. Now you can use any silkscreen that has a animal print, or you can use any stencil that has a animal print. Just make sure that you have at least 4. Then this part is optional, but I would highly recommend finding a texture stamp or stencil that has a image of one of the animals that you're going to be using. So I've got this Core Tools texture stamp here that has a zebra head on it. Anything of this sort would work: stencil, silkscreen or stamp. So just thought I'd go through that. So first we are going to be using the texture stamps. So I'm going to work with the snake print first, and I'm going to be using metallic Cernit today. And so these are the 3 colours that I'm going to be working with, and I'm actually going to be working with 6 different colours today for all of the texture stamp animal prints, and I'm just going to be selecting colours from them. So for today, for the snake print, these are the colours that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to take these and I'm just going to kind of rip them a little bit, because I want to kind of create a watercolour effect. Okay, and we do not need much, because we're just making 1 bead from it. So just tear up those 3 colours, and you can use any colours that you want. Just in this case I would highly recommend using metallic. And then when we're done tearing them up, we are then going to piece them together, and then we are going to stamp it. There we go. Then just take them and just piece them together like so. And just do that until you have a piece. Just do that until you've pieced them all together. And until you have a piece that you think is big enough to create some mica frills for the piece that we're going to be making. Okay, there we go. Then I'm just going to take my blade and I'm just going to press those edges so that we can kind of square it up a bit, like so. Pick that up and I'm going to pop it onto a piece of paper. I'm going to bring over another piece, and then I'm just going to use a roller to roll it. And this is just so that the clay doesn't stick to my roller. Okay. And I think I might actually want it a little more stretched out, so I'll bring it onto a tile so it doesn't stick to my roller. And you can see it still does stick to my roller, that's fairly normal. But try to get it not to. Alright, and that should work. Then again, just take your blade and square up those edges. And I'm just pressing any clay that's just kind of sitting around on the edges in. Then you can use a piece of paper to just burnish that all together. Okay. And I'm going to lift that up. I'm going to bring over our texture, and I have a bit of cornstarch off the side here. I'm just going to use a brush, and I'm going to dab my texture stamp, and then I'm also going to dab the top of my clay to make sure that we don't get any sticking. And then I'm not going to put cornstarch on the back because I want to be able to stick it down to a tile later. So I'm going to use a piece of paper to prevent my fingers from lifting it from the stamp, and that's what I'm going to use to press it in. Okay, I'm going to lift that, and you can see it's stuck to the paper because it really doesn't stick when you have cornstarch on the stamp and clay, so that's good. I'm quickly going to use another brush just to get rid of any excess starch, like so. And I'm going to unstick that from the paper, and you actually might want to use your blade to do that. Okay. And I'm very gently going to press that onto my tile, and I'm just using my palm so that I don't apply too much pressure. And then we are going to slice. And now I have a piece of paper off to the side so that you can put these microfrills onto the paper. And lift that, and there you can see how that looks. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to slice again. Okay, and try to keep it so that you have almost like a netting effect. You want those holes. And I flip it because I like to use the underside. Okay, and I'm just popping that on a piece of paper so that it doesn't stick to anything. Okay, and there we go, and that's why we don't need a lot of clay. Now you can use this for anything else that you might wish, but we just wanted to get some microfrills from that. So I'm going to put that to the side, and that was our snake print one. So now let's see, I'm going to do the leopard one next, and so I'm going to be using these 3 colours, and I'm going to repeat the exact same process. So I'll come back once I've got these into the same kind of watercolour effect. Okay, and there we go. That's how that one looks. So you can see how nice that looks. So now we're going to simply stamp that with our leopard print, and then I'll show you the microfrills when they're done. Okay, and here are the leopard ones. So now for the giraffe, I am going to do this red. So I'm going to do those 3 colours, and then for this one I am simply going to be doing black. So I'll get the microfrills done for all of those since you already know how the process works. And then when that's done, I'll show you what we're going to do with those microfrills. Okay, and there we go. So here's the giraffe one, and here is the kind of zebra fur print one. So now I'm going to put these to the side, and we're going to prepare the bases for them. Okay, so the first one is going to be black, and so I'm just going to bring over another piece of paper, and we're just going to burnish this. Okay, there we go. Up. And then we're only going to be working with this size circle, so I don't want to be putting microfrills on the whole thing. So I've just pressed that circle imprint in, and now I'm going to take my microfrills. Let me just pick them up, they're very fragile. There we go. There we go. Pop that down. Bring over the next one. and I don't want to cover the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Then we're going to burnish that on. Make sure that's burnished completely flat. Like so. There we go, and there shouldn't be any lines. Then I'll pick that up. Going to bring over my hollow dome tool. Going to place this over the top, and I'm going to start brushing it into place. And I haven't cut it yet because I prefer to work with it while it's still in a sheet, because then it allows me to see things such as cracks showing up, which I can see. So let me just burnish that again. Okay, there we go. Now all I'm doing is I'm just smoothing this onto the surface, avoiding fingerprints while just smoothing it down. Okay, then we're going to bring this over. And we will cut, spin, just to get it so that your cutter doesn't stick to it. And lift. And I don't get through there. Yep. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to basically do the exact same for the other three. I might use a slightly different background colour, but I'm going to show you them once I've got the other three down. Okay, and there we go. So you can see we have the snake one, the leopard one, giraffe one, and zebra one. Okay, and so now we're going to fill out these four over here with the silk screens. So put this to the side, and then I'm going to bring over the silk screens. So for the zebra, I have just plain pearl white clay, and that's what we're going to be printing on. For the snake one, I have got a sheet of burnt umber. And then for these two, I had to mix up some colours. So for the tiger one, we have got 2 parts burnt orange and 1 part orange. I believe this is orange. Yes. So 2 parts burnt orange, 1 part orange to get this coloured. And then for the jaguar-leopard, that was 1 part burnt orange and 2 parts ecru to get that colour. And so let's see, I think I'm going to start with the snake one first. So I'm just going to bring over the paper again, and I'm just going to burnish this, like so. Okay, and I'm just going to peel this off its backing. And let's see, I want to make sure that I get a good amount of these small pieces. And I'm just going to gently rub that onto the clay so that it sticks down. Okay. And then I have got Dazzling Metallics Festive Green. I thought that would work quite nicely. Give it a good mix because it's got metallics in the paint. Draw a line across, and then we're just going to stick this here. Okay. Just going to draw that across. Okay. Then lift up and quickly clean your silk screen. Okay. Then I'm just going to lift that up and put that to the side for the paint to dry. Then I'm going to bring over the next one, which is going to be these two. And I'm actually going to put them next to each other like so, because they're on the same silk screen, and so I'm going to print them together. And just burnish them. so. Then we'll bring over the silkscreen, which is the tiger and leopard. And we're just going to peel that off the backing. Okay. I'm just going to burnish that on. Right, and then we're going to be using black paint this time. And I'm going to run a line across the top here and then also across the top of this one here. Now the reason I'm printing them at the same time is because they're on the same silk screen, and once you've wet a silk screen, a lot of the time trying to do second print can be quite messy. So if you want to get an image of the same, if you have two images and you want to use both of them, try to print them both at the same time. Then lift that up and clean your silk screen. Okay, and just quickly peel those off and put them with your other piece to dry. And then we'll move on to the last one. Burnish it as you would usual. And then I'm going to bring that over and let's see if I can get a hold on it quickly. There we go. Just remember, if it's the first time you're using the silk screens, they're going to be quite stuck to these films, but that won't be the case every single time. Okay, then I'm just going to press that. And in case you're wondering, this is a cow print. You can use any animal prints you want. I'm going for kind of the more regular ones, but you can go for more interesting ones if you wanted to. And also remember, stencils will work as well. Any silk screen will work. You don't necessarily have to use these ones. There we go. Lift up and clean your screen. Okay, and again, just put that to the side to dry. Okay, and so now we're going to do the exact same thing that we did last time, where we take our pieces and we apply them to our thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go opposite. So the snake one is going to be the smallest one, and the zebra is going to be the largest, and then I think I'm probably going to have the tiger there and the leopard there. So do basically exactly what you did with these ones, just pop them over the top, cut once you've smoothed it down, and repeat for all of them. And there we go. So those look quite nice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make our middle piece, which will be here. And you're going to need some pearl white clay, a print of some sort, and I'm going to be using black clay to create the print. So I'm just going to take this, and what I'm going to do is, because I'm kind of trying to create a satin slice effect, I'm just going to use small bits, and I'm just going to kind of smear it into place. And I'm going to attempt lifting it up because I want to see how sticky this is. It's not too sticky, but I do still think that I want to bring over a little bit of cornstarch just in case. So let me just tap a bit there. And I'll just dab it in with this. I'll just blow away the excess. Okay. And that will just really make sure that it doesn't stick. Okay. Then I'm just going to take black clay and I'm going to press that into place. And now again, remember, you could use a stencil, silk screen or stamp for this. It doesn't matter too much. I'm choosing to do a satin slice because I'm using a stamp and I can't really make microfrills out of this one. But if you had a silk screen or a stencil, you would just use paint to print this onto your clay. And again, it can be any animal head as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be a zebra. That's just the one that I have as of right now. There we go. Then just make sure to press that all in so that it's nice and well pressed. Bring over a blade, and I'm using a fairly blunt one so that I don't myself if I do catch myself. And there you can see that some didn't print well there. So I'll just stick some more clay in, shave, okay, and I'm really making sure this is nice and clean and well printed before I try to put it onto my clay. So just go over it a few times because it's just this one. So you want to make sure that it's as clean as you can get it, and then we'll print it onto our white. Okay, then we're going to take our white, we're going to place that down, and I like to just use paper, and I'm going to burnish it thoroughly, putting a lot of pressure on this because I want the white to bond with that stamp and the clay that's in the stamp. Go. Take this. Let's hope it comes out cleanly. And no, it has not. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so that didn't work, as you can see. So I'm going to try a different approach this time. Going to pop plenty of cornstarch on here, dust off the excess, and it's always a risk doing a satin slice on a non-flexible piece. It's just generally very difficult, and so it was likely that it wasn't going to work. So now I'm going to just stamp this. Just directly into it like so. Make sure you get a good press in there. Okay, and we will lift that out. There we go, you can see we've got quite a nice impression there. Right, and then what we're going to do, seeing as that needs to fit there, I am going to just quickly stretch this out until we can fit our circle. Okay, that's almost good. Alright, that works. Then I'm going to just take some black StayOn ink, and I'm going to use it to just highlight the raised areas, and I'm going to try very hard not to get it on the white on the outside. You might get it on. If it gets on a little bit, it's not a huge issue. Just try to keep it just on the raised areas as much as possible. And what you can actually do is you can, if you do get a bit on, you can also just coat the area in black, like so. I actually like that better. And of course you don't have to use your fingers, but I quite like the texture that it gives. I think it looks interesting. And so I'm just going to continue coating until I'm happy with the result. There we go. Then I'm just going to cut out my piece, and this is one circle larger than what we're actually going to cut. So if it doesn't fit perfectly, that's fine. Just lift that up, bring this over again. Try to position that in the middle, and now I'm actually going to coat my fingers in cornstarch just because I don't want this sticking to me. You might still have some issues actually. Just continually coat your fingers in cornstarch. Just got to get smoothed down. Okay, then once you've got smoothed down, I'm going to bring over the right size cutter. Need one size down from that one. Okay. Then just going to position it in the correct spot. Cut. Just twist to get it to unstick from the cutter. There we go. And there is our center. Okay, and now because we did have some cornstarch on there, the black might be a little dulled. So very carefully go back over. Don't touch your neighbouring pieces. Just go back over and restore any black that might need to be. Then I'm going to pop this into the oven for a full hour at Burroughs recommended temperature, and then when it is baked we are going to sand them quite thoroughly just to get them into the right shape, and then we're going to apply backings. Okay, and here they are out of the oven. So now I'm just going to take them all off of their molds, like so. There we go. Okay, and now we need to do a decent amount of sanding on the bottom just to get them ready for their backing. Just pop them to the side. Okay, and I've got some 8E grit sandpaper here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and I just want to sand the bottom side. And all you're doing is you're sanding it until it's got a nice flat rim. So can you see how big that rim is? You want it to come up to about there. So I'll show you what I mean when I'm done sanding. But basically you're just going to sand the bottom side. Do not sand the top with the sandpaper. We will do that later on with some much finer sandpaper. Right now we're just trying to get rid of as much material on the bottom as possible. Okay, so then once you've sanded them, just want you to take a piece of clay that's been rolled out on probably your medium setting on your pasta machine, and I'm just going to burnish it on a piece of paper. And this is for our backings. Okay, and I'm going to start with the largest first, and let's just make sure that it's completely dry. Yes. I'm going to press that down and press it nice and hard onto there, trapping and sealing the air. Then bring over a knife and just take your knife around the edge like so. And trim away the excess, like so. And I'll move on to the next one. This one. Again, press nice and hard, sealing in that air, trim around it, and continue for all of them. Okay, and there we go. So now we're going to pop those into the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. And then when they're done, we are going to drill them and varnish them and then assemble. Okay, so here they are out of the oven. So now we are going to drill them. So just grabbed a drill here. Now I know this is a push drill, so technically I could be using the handle, but I want to be doing this by hand. As I drill through. There we go. Okay, and then you'll do one on the other side, and then you'll repeat for all of them. Okay, then once they're drilled, I want you to just take a pin of some kind, just so you can hold it, so you don't have to touch it while you are applying resin to it. Just pop a small amount of resin on there, and then brush it over, and then put that into the UV light for at least 15 minutes. And then when it is done, then we can assemble. And just repeat this with all of the other pieces. Okay, and so here they are out of the UV light. And so now we are just about ready to string. So I've got a piece of tiger tail here. And I'm just going to arrange this into its order, the order that I'm going to string it anyway. And I'm going to start with the middle piece. Now this can be a little tricky because you have to get it through both sides. So that might take you a little bit of time to actually get it strung through. There we go, got it through. Then I'm just going to take a little Burroughs spacer bead, and I'm going to string that on either side, like so. There we go. Then I'm going to continue up the one side and then continue up the other side. Okay, then once you've done that, we are going to just bring over some little bone beads, just some little bone spacers, like that, and then we're just going to continue stringing on these brass pieces. Make sure that you have the same number on each end, and then I'll show you how to finish off the piece. Okay, then I've got these cord ends. And I'm just going to trim off some of this extra cord. Pop that on. And then you can either squish it or you can use crimp pliers if you have any, to get a neater finish on that. Check that that's on. Then push that up, and we're going to repeat on the other side. Then just grab 2 jump rings, open them up, and attach your clasp of choice, like so. And then you're going to basically be just about done. Nice and easy. And there we go, all done. So that's basically it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep in mind that you don't have to do it the same way that I did. You can always put whatever veneers you want, but I thought that going with kind of a animal print theme would look quite nice, especially since we can have this as the centerpiece. So that's why I went with that today. But feel free to go with basically whatever you want to go with. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.